Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pro Wrestling World Talks with Dan and Mac.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Pro Wrestling World Talks here on YouTube under Diamond Podcasting Productions and Spotify, Audacity, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. I am your host, Dale Burke, and I am just joined this week by Mac, my best friend of over 20 years, and the wonderful co-host of this program. And after last week's episode, I am glad it's just him.
Boo man.
Billy, thank you for coming on. And it was also great to see him for that little toy hunt that we did on Saturday, where now it's come to apparent to myself that Bert and Ernie action figures might be creeping into this household shortly, which I never thought I would say. But those goddamn people at NECA, they have to come up with these things that just so toyetic, and someone myself that's a complete sucker as far as this, as far as the toy industry go. And of course, me and Billy the whole time, we're just like, Mac, come on, you got to get onto this. Come on, you got to get onto this. Come on, you got to start collecting. Come on, and I'm just showing him stuff. It's just everything there. It's like you got Ghostbusters. Of course, we headed over to Zombie Hideout in Springfield, Massachusetts. If anybody wants to check that out, that is definitely the place to be. As far as probably one of the largest, I think, vintage or like recent toy store, because too, they do have a lot of Super 7, which are now becoming more prevalent. Their gaming session is pretty large as far as like board games, and I'm sure you could do Dungeons and Dragons and Magic if you're into that sort of thing, or Pokemon, because I know the Pokemon card thing is now just as I don't understand how that was just a thing in the late 90s and still is like a thing where, except the problem is it's not a lot of these kids that are worried about the Pokemon cards now. It's people that I grew up with that are worried about the goddamn Pokemon cards. And I'm just like, well, I'm glad I'm not the only one that has like weird obsessions, except I look at Pokemon and I'm just like, why is this still a thing? Why is this still a thing? And why is it still kind of this kind of, I don't know, is it still mainstream or is it still kind of on the fringe? I guess when Pokemon Go came out, it was kind of got back really kind of relevancy to pop culture. But it's weird in the collector community, especially now, because of course I'm in a lot of these groups. The complaints now that I'm hearing about these Pokemon cards and people fighting over them and people arguing over them, and it's just like, how is this still a thing? And I understand the whole sneaker community too, where that's a big thing, which I get it. Which there's also a lot of people that are younger, teens and 20s, that are interested in this as well. It's not just a, late 30s to late, maybe mid to late 40s thing. It's become this, even now people in their 50s, you could sit there, because the 80s now was 40 years ago, guys. As I'm staring down the face of another year older in a week. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly my point of this whole thing, where it's funny because, again, with facing my birthday and trying to come up with ideas for certain gifts, and I was talking about these NECA Bert and Ernie figures. So my thought process started looking on Amazon, because I'm just like, okay, are these something that I could just send to someone as links or something? But what I did find was a Mr. Hooper figure. that was done by Super 7, and Mr. Hooper comes with a broom. I'm just like, what?
Oh, well, loudy fucking duh.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he's in his apron and his glasses, and I mean, I guess when we were kids, that was somewhat of a big deal. Like when he died, because people were just like, Mr. Hooper died. But I just, because you gotta look at Sesame Street now, which, by the way, that is prevalent again because Netflix just acquired the rights because Warner Brothers Discovery, which, God, Warner Brothers Discovery is so fucked up. They went from going from HBO Max to Max, now back to HBO Max. They really have no idea which way is up. We will be talking about AEW later because we will be mentioning Double or Nothing, which will be happening this weekend. We will be talking about wrestling, but momentarily, which kind of crosses in because we were talking about the toys stuff, which, yes, there was some wrestling figures that were purchased last week, or figure, depends who's listening. It's but it's always interesting to look at. When I was just thinking about Sesame Street earlier, and I'm like, it really is kind of a passe thing. Like, it doesn't really exist anywhere, right? Because Sesame Street 40 or 50 years ago, yeah, it was believable. And the concept of it's like this little independent market thing that's run by this guy, and then there's people in this neighborhood and things like that. It's a nice little corner, and they have the puppets around, Muppets, whatever. All right, people are all right with that. But now it's just, you think about it in real life, and you think about it when you're an adult, because when you grow up, you're just automatically, in a way that things are now, you're just thinking to yourself, there's no way Big Bird would have to deal with a nest because they would put a parking garage in that spot. Mr. Hooper probably would, his goddamn place probably would have been leveled by now because 7-Eleven would have just been like, look, we're just going to do things right down the corner, and we're probably going to charge half as much as you do for stuff. Oh, and also at the same time too, we're going to be open 24/7, and also we're going to have gas. So automatically it's just like, you're done, pal. And then most of the people in the neighborhood,
what the fuck is that?
You know what the funny thing is? Do you ever really saw anybody except Mr. Hooper really work in Sesame Street? Like, did they have jobs? The Muppets did. Like, they had a policeman, a fireman, and stuff like that. I mean, Kermit was a goddamn reporter at certain points. But who really that lived on Sesame Street really had a job? Can you name one?
Sesame Street is the kids' version of the Burbs. I'm just going to throw that out there.
It really is. Like, who had jobs? Who can pay for this? Is everybody on housing, Section 8? Like, what the hell's going on here? Like, how are you able to pay for this? Especially, like, in that nice of area, because you got to think like that. And even though the alley that Big Bird really lived in was pretty big. But again, that would be a parking garage at this point because it's just, I really.
Oscar the Grouch is at his own studio apartment in the trash can.
No. He's really, they have him kind of he's actually in the parking structure because it's more in the condominium area. Like, that's the thing now. It's just they're just like, we're going to tear down Mr. Hooper's, and now that's going to be condos. And I think there was actually a video that was kind of going around that kind of made me think of it because they were making fun of Donald Trump, of course, and this is back in the 80s when Trump was still just a condominium and like just a architect builder kind of real estate guy. And of course, so they had to do a take, and I think it was played by Joe Pesci. This could have been a fever dream, or this could have been something I've seen this week. But then it's just, I wasn't even thinking from that logical explanation. I was thinking from the logical explanation of what has happened in recent times, because of just, it's like Mr. Hooper wouldn't be able to exist. You know, it's like, why do they keep stealing from me? Oh no. It's just, he's going to lock down everything. Hey, police. No, I can't do anything. They didn't steal over 5,000. What? You can't even prosecute?
So I Googled it as you were talking. Because I could not remember this at all. It was a 1994 episode, and he was nicknamed Ronald Grump.
Oh, God. Ronald Grump.
Yep.
In 1994. That, even at that point, Trump was not even really on our lexicon then. Like in 94,
Not us.
he was still, well, he wasn't, just in general, because like 94, he was still like, I think he was in debt. Like, because the real estate bubble had burst in like the early 90s. So he was still trying to get out of that. I think that was the Marla Maples marriage too, if I'm not mistaken. It was, but that's interesting though that happened in 94, because it's like, really? I think that was, so was that played by Joe Pesci?
It doesn't explicitly say it's him, but they have a picture of it, and it's definitely Joe Pesci.
It's definitely Joe Pesci. Oh, yeah. It's funny that it's probably the same wig he probably used for Casino, like Nicky Santorum.
Probably is.
I gotta do Sesame Street. The next day, he's just fucking yelling at goddamn De Niro. You motherfucker, you!
It's definitely like dark brown hair too.
Yeah, that's Nicky say.
It does actually say his name. I had to scroll up to the picture.
You don't have my fucking money for me. I'm gonna just crack your fucking head wide open in front of everybody in the bank. God, he was so great in that movie.
He was.
Casino is one of those. It's not as good as Goodfellas, but there's some great moments in it where you just like in the bar when he just stabs a guy with a pen.
Yep.
Is he crying like a little girl, Frankie? Crying like a little girl? And then fucking Phil Leotardo turns against him at the end. Goddamn Shah of Iran looking motherfucker. I hate him in everything. Everything he's ever been in, mob-wise. Phil, God, fuck Frank Vincent. God, anything he's ever been in, I've just been like, I hate him. And it's true, because he was Billy Batts in Goodfellas, and then of course he was the guy in Casino that pretty much fucked over Nicky Santorum, and then which I think he played Frankie, which is funny. It's like he was known as Frankie. It's like, his name is Frank. It's kind of funny. This really isn't acting. You just said pretty much that's perfect casting. And then, of course, The Sopranos, where he played Phil Leotardo, where he was just a miserable asshole the whole goddamn show. And
hey, that seat was askew, okay?
It's just compromised. It's like, and it's like Johnny Sack was. I like Johnny a lot. He had his moments too, where he was just an absolute dick. Except on the Ralph.
Different for him though.
The Ralphie thing, I understood.
Yeah.
The Ralphie thing, it's like I completely understand. Where it's like, okay, that's a boss. That's like the underboss of New York, and you're just taking a shot at him. And also it's a civilian. It's like, it's like there's just certain things you don't cross. So I understood it from Johnny's point of view of just like, yeah, I want to sanction a hit on him. I get that. But I also understood, the fact too that Carmine almost had him killed over that too. Of just like, I'll take out my underboss because I can't have this espionage thing get destroyed. It's like,
Carmine didn't say nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
I didn't say nothing.
I didn't say nothing.
Yeah, but but it's just like, it's that phone call of just between two people. I'm just like, this is a good thing we got going here. What do you mean? What are you saying? I didn't say nothing. I'm just saying that we got a lot of money at stake here with this espionage thing. So what are you saying? I'm not saying nothing. All right, I'll talk to you.
Exactly.
What a call. Oh man, that is one of those shows now, because of clips that I see online. I never have to watch a full episode again.
Oh, I know.
Because it's like, I just get a reminder and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's what happened.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah. And I don't know. There's some other shows that kind of want to deep dive into that I've been kind of thinking about. NYPD Blue keeps like kicking around my head.
Yeah, there's so many shows out there, man, that you can just go back and kind of watch or rewatch, whichever. And it's just, there's not enough time in the day.
No, there isn't.
There's just not.
Steph and I have been watching the Righteous Gemstones, which this Danny McBride,
what the fuck is that?
is behind the Eastbound and Down, Kenny Powers type that show. Okay. That was also on HBO.
Right.
But that also stars John Goodman as his dad. And of course, it's kind of like, it's a family of televangelists. But they're like really like multi-millionaire, like televangelists. They're ones that, they get the mega churches and putting all the people out of business. Yeah, one of these deals. And kind of like a Joel Osteen type deal down in Dallas, where he actually bought the old, I think the old Rockets arena. He ended up turning into a mega church in Houston, which is completely unbelievable that he was able to do that. But that's enough there. Speaking of locations and big business, WWE will not.
We just had the same like wavelength of segue right there.
I did.
I was like, if he doesn't do it, I'm just gonna go. Well, speaking of stadiums in the South,
I know. I was, because I feel like, speaking of big business stadiums in the South, New Orleans will not be hosting WrestleMania 42. That came out earlier today, and then there was another report saying that WWE will probably be going international for WrestleMania 42. And so that started to kind of kick the can of everybody saying, is it Saudi Arabia? Is it London? Is London finally going to be getting their WrestleMania, their well-deserved WrestleMania? There were other rumors that it could be in Mexico because of the recent deal with AAA. There's several instances where people automatically started thinking, okay, it's got to be big. Well, it is big. Big enough that they are going now for the first time since 1988 and 89, respectively. They are going back to back. WrestleMania 41 was in Las Vegas at the Raiders Stadium out there. I can't remember the freaking first name. I can't remember it. But the Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas, so they were for WrestleMania 41. And now at WrestleMania 42, they will be emanating again from the Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas. Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. And I can only imagine the amount of money that Las Vegas handed to them to say, with a year, because this is a company that likes to announce stuff before even the WrestleMania happens, usually. Like before the WrestleMania actually, so WrestleMania 41 happened this year. They usually try to announce it before that so like before 41, or usually that gets leaked or something like that. And it was pretty much locked up that they were going to be in New Orleans. But the money had to have been so big that they made the decision, we're going back. And they haven't done this again since WrestleMania 4 and WrestleMania 5 when they emanated from Boardwalk Hall, then known as Trump Plaza in Atlantic City.
Oh, shit.
Which that, of course, was the venue for a lot of top boxing fights, and a lot, especially for Mike Tyson. Probably one of the famous ones from there was the one against Michael Spinks when he became the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And of course, the coronation of Randy Savage as WWF champion had happened at WrestleMania 4. And then a year later, the Mega Powers explode and Hulk Hogan getting back the championship at WrestleMania 5. Now, the question is it going to be Cody Rhodes and John Cena at WrestleMania 42? God, I hope not.
Don't do that.
No.
Don't do that.
Because of course you got Cena putting out there the. Even though I think that it's going to happen, it's going to happen. He's going to be retiring by the end of the year, especially too when you think the timing is perfect. It's going to be held in Boston, so I have a feeling too he's in a position where somebody it's just like, yeah, if I'm saying it's it, and but the question is now. What are the ticket prices going to be? That I think is the major question that people need to think. Because you got them now $40,000 and we're talking $40,000 for ringside at SummerSlam at MetLife. Now we're talking about Vegas again. You're talking about a city that is. Fact is, the numbers have been down as far as tourism goes in the city. So they're looking to do what they can to be able to get tourism back up and running. Fact is, too, is that as much as UFC is such a prevalent part of that city's identity, especially now. The fact is, and it's been talked about by several reporters, MMA in itself is in a bit of a recession. So is UFC. So that has, I think, hurt the overall product not only the product for MMA, but also the economy and health of Las Vegas. So Vegas pretty much pulled out all stops. I can only imagine the amount of money that it took to get this thing done. And now you wonder, is it going to be a bust next year just like this year was? It's funny that Vegas seems to be the place where WrestleManias just go and be trash. We look at WrestleMania 9 and we look at WrestleMania 41.
Jeez.
Even though WrestleMania 41 did have some great matches, but you look at the main event and you look at WrestleMania 9's main event and you think to yourself, WrestleMania 9 may have had a better finish. Holy shit, what planet am I living on here?
Listen, I don't want to go back and rehash 41, let alone 9 for that matter, but we've
I
talked.
Won, brother.
Yeah,
I won.
I know.
I won, brother.
I know, Terry. I know.
I won.
I got it, Terry. Listen. It's not the city's fault, obviously, but it's funny to make the comparison. But for me, looking at the overall product the last several months, you mentioned MMA obviously as well. There's definitely a downturn. There's definitely a downturn, and we'll talk about some of the downturns with some of the shows this weekend because it's going to be a busy weekend. We have this. We still have to talk about Zoey Stark later. We have Saturday Night Main Event this weekend. I'm pretty sure Battleground is this weekend too, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
believe so. Yes.
And then we have Double or Nothing.
3 major shows. Yes.
Yeah, it's 3 major shows, and I mean, it's a good weekend for wrestling. But I mean, if you go back to WrestleMania 41, it's just like I feel like it's not been the same since, arguably, since before even that. You know, were there some good matches, like you said, at WrestleMania 41? Yeah, absolutely. Will there be good matches at WrestleMania 42? Probably. I do kind of feel bad for New Orleans, though, to be honest. You know, like you go from being
Yeah.
announced as the next
Yeah.
WrestleMania, you got fans in the area super excited, even if they can't afford it. Let's be real.
Derek Carr retired.
Yeah, Derek Carr retired. Yep, there's that too. And I mean, it's a lot. And then all of a sudden today, because we're recording on a Thursday, you know, it's announced, oh, WrestleMania is not going to be in New Orleans anymore. And it's like, wait, what? And then there's all this speculation that you alluded to earlier about, oh, it's going to be in England, it's going to be in Canada, it's going to be in Mexico, it's going to be in Saudi Arabia. And then it's just like, no, we're just going back to Vegas. It's like, what?
You money grubbing assholes! You gotta go back. I mean, fuck. I'm not knock that. I mean, it's business, right? It's a tremendous idea. The fact is that, and there's a lot of arguments that have been made, and it's funny is that Billy had brought this up recently in conversations, talking about how when Vince was in charge, what business was, he didn't overcharge people. Like, it was affordable for people to go to shows and things like that. And then I think I boldly looked at him and I said, yeah, it was affordable because nobody was going to the fucking shows and half the building was full. And, which I understand how people could say.
So hold on a second. Let me interject for just a minute here, and I'll pose you a question. Kind of.
Mhm.
Can't you still keep it at a decent price with all the different packages they now sell? Like the meet and greets, the backstage, the like green shirt guy walked out one of the nights with Wade Barrett and somebody else. Like, there's so many different packages for WrestleMania, and to a lesser extent for any of these shows, really. Can't you still keep the prices under just, I'll throw a random number of just 5K, right? Can't you keep the ticket prices under 5K when you factor in all those other extras that people might want to buy? Like, I'm being honest, right? Like, I understand it. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's obnoxious, right? Some of the packages, I mean. But the prices themselves, whether it be add-ons or not, or just the base ticket prices, that's obnoxious. So I understand his point of view in terms of like keeping prices to a certain price and making it affordable for families. I think was the comment that he had made, and I understand that completely, and I totally agree with him. But to your point, right? Like, nobody's going to those events. So, of course, they're going to be affordable because they're trying to entice people to go. We could talk about that with AEW later, some of the stuff that we had seen this week about some of their shows. But at the end of the day, like, I just feel like you could still keep it. So, I don't know, say Rick said like $500. People will buy that. And then they still have the money left over to then go back and say, you know what, I do want to meet this superstar or that superstar, or I want to get this signed by that superstar, or I want to walk out with Wade Barrett at WrestleMania. Like the what should be the priciest to me at WrestleMania this past year, for example, would have been the people sitting, in the set. Those would have been more expensive to me because you're in the set. You're prominently visible in the set when anybody walks out. Plus, you got to figure that's like reserved seating too, I would imagine. But
keep them at a certain price and then sell packages, sell meet and greets, sell other things, sell backstage, sell camera opportunities. I don't know. Like, you can figure it out. You don't need to charge $40,000 for 2 nights at SummerSlam.
Here's a suggestion for people. If I'm going to I'm going to actually save you money in the long run. So,
Watch it on Peacock.
no, when you go to these meet and greets, do yourself a favor. If you want to meet the wrestler, great. I think that's a great idea. Go on Fanatics, though, and go look at the autographs of the guys and see if you can buy it cheaper there than paying the person for the signing there. You want to do a meet and greet, get a picture with them, I completely understand. But as far as signings go on Fanatics, go see if you can get it cheaper there, because let me explain.
I know exactly what you're gonna say.
Billy was telling me today, he was just like, he showed me Kevin Smith was doing a signing at Rhode Island Comic Con. So I go on his the website for Rhode Island Comic Con, and I'm just like, oh, he's charging $100 for his autograph at the Comic Con. So then I go on his Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash website, and he's selling his autograph for an 8x10 for $40.
Well, so hold on, right? So it's not just the difference of $60 here. Let's be real.
Yes,
because you have to pay to get into Comic Con.
Mm-hmm.
You're also probably gonna pay to take a picture with them too, because that price is not mutually exclusive to both. You have to pay separately. And you've experienced that too in some of the places that you've gone, right? And I know that's the case, where they're like, okay, it's $50 for a picture. If you want something signed, that's another $50.
Yep.
But again, that doesn't include the ticket price to actually get in the venue.
Yes.
So if you're paying for the experience of going, taking your picture and having something signed at a live venue where you meet and greet, kind of, right, for 5 seconds basically, then I totally understand, right? But to your point, if you want to save money, yeah, I would do it that way. I would go on some of these websites. You can even go on eBay in some cases. Somebody probably has it cheap there. You can sometimes, if you reach out to some of these people in a not creepy way, by the way, they might be amenable.
God. That,
there are some people that
about,
don't care. I know we talked about it last week.
We just talked about that. Then the incident happened with Soraya, where it was just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
How many times do we got to keep talking about these guys, like putting out disclaimers? You guys got to fucking stop. You you got to stop. You have to realize there's got to be a barrier. God.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Poor fucking woman. Going to these goddamn... They're going to stop doing meet and greets at some point now, because you idiots can't control yourself. God.
That's the thing, man. Like, I listen, I totally understand it, right? I totally understand it. Because, we're all human. We all have thoughts and feelings and everything, but like
Monica Seles vibes I get from all this shit.
Yeah, it's
Google
like,
it.
If you like I said, I get it. We all have emotions and thoughts and feelings and everything, and there's a time and a place, and that's not the place. And if you don't know a person, you probably shouldn't try to do something like that. That's all I'm gonna say. But speaking of female talent, I guess we could segue right there. That was a gnarly incident with Zoey Stark on Monday Night Raw this week.
Ugh. That was that was one of those injuries where you're just like, oh. that could be a career ender. I don't know,
but she's definitely had knee issues in the past too.
Yeah, that's
not in her favor.
It's not in her favor, and it's just that was one of those ones where it's like you probably tore the ACL and the MCL.
Yeah, that's exactly.
You probably tore both, and you may also have torn the Achilles too, the way it went down.
Get
and
a
they
couple
expect
ligaments other than that too.
they're expecting her not to maybe be back for the rest of the year. It's like she might be out for like 2 years. She might be
I don't know about 2, but she'll definitely be out for at least a year. I feel like.
at least a year. You won't see her until maybe night after Mania next year, maybe even after SummerSlam.
I was thinking
Because
SummerSlam 2026. Yeah,
yeah, if she comes back at all, because
yeah.
it's just it's just that was a nasty, gnarly injury. Of course, continued bad luck for her because she just lost her tag team partners, for Christ's sake. She was in the stable. Then she just came back to TV, I think, on the very first night. And it's just like, oh, fuck. And then you have Kairi Sane also, because
She's
I'm
always. I'm sorry, I don't kind of, but
Yeah.
Zoey Stark to me is always she's somebody who I feel is a little stink bit. Like
Yeah.
I know she had the program kind of with Trish, and I feel like she was not really able to get over even then, honestly. And then she's off TV for a little bit. She comes back with PFC, which just I don't even understand that, man. We had names for that too, which is why Dan is laughing right now. And then
He'll never be said, Bo.
no, not on this program, anyways. And then Shayna Baszler and I'm blanking on the other one. I can't remember her name off the top of my head right now.
Sonya Deville.
Sonya Deville. Yeah, I was thinking a real name for some reason. I couldn't put it together. But yeah, Sonya Deville before her as well, and then Shayna Baszler. It's just kind of snake bit, and then she's making these comments on social media, which I feel is just trying to keep her relevant. I almost feel like in some cases, because just whatever she's been in, it just hasn't worked.
I think a lot more talent might go the Karrion Kross route now, though, where it's just like, they might have to make a little noise on their own a little bit to kind of get themselves over.
He better
it's
be
like,
in Money in the Bank at this point, I feel like.
Here's the problem with Karrion Kross, though, because it's like people want to get
Killer
behind.
Cross.
Well, that, and it's just too. But the problem also people need to realize is that they get bored of him. The internet tends to get bored of this guy very quickly. It's like I've seen them get behind him, and then something happens that they don't like, or he does one little misstep, or he has a bad performance. Then everybody's just like, oh, screw this guy. Because I've seen this guy get hot like 4 or 5 times, and then all of a sudden it's either bad luck or the internet turns against him. It's just that's usually what happens. Even though the first time that he arrived into the main roster, at least, that was completely on Vince. That was a complete botch job by Vince. And
even when he came back, it was stupid.
Yeah, it just the minute they took him out of that gimmick with that first entrance, that whole presentation, it was just like, well, that then they gave him the helmet. I'm like, oh, there's just little things you're just like, oh, you're killing this guy dead. Like it's just it's over, Johnny. It's not even close. It's like you're oh God. Yeah. And then it's just you're doing nothing with him. You're doing nothing with him. But he's starting to get over. Oh, he's getting over. Oh, he's over. Oh, he's like number one. Like now, do something with him. And then it's just like, but the problem is I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I'm waiting for the internet to just be like, oh, this guy's boring again. It's like, because it's just this vicious cycle constantly where it's just it turns. And then because people are hot on someone 1 second and then 10 seconds later, they're just like, oh, forget about it.
Well, I think part of that is because they're so top heavy with top talent.
It's just they're top heavy with top talent. And no one,
It's hard for
That-
everybody else to get TV time on. That's kind of what I'm trying to say.
And Hunter is afraid to take risks sometimes. It's just I feel
like
like
WrestleMania, so I don't know if that's true.
well, no, it's just I mean, because I don't know if the Cena thing is, they don't think it's a risk. I think it's a risk critically.
Well, that's part of
creatively.
why I'm saying it, because
Yeah.
I absolutely think WrestleMania 41 and Cena winning was a huge risk.
Yes. And it's not in a positive light where this could work out. And it's like, too,
Well,
with
it
the
is
Jey
because-
Uso stuff.
Well, I agree with the Jey Uso stuff. We'll talk about him later. But I feel like with Cena, it's just like, not only did you risk dropping the belt from Cody to Cena, but you also risked the heel turn. It's like a double whammy, and it's like, I feel like there's no good way of saying it. It hasn't worked. It just hasn't.
It hasn't. It's been a total disaster. I think, yes, their plan for at least going into SummerSlam, so Money in the Bank is going to be after this. Their plan is they're going with the Travis Scott thing. The rumors of that are just growing and growing and growing. And yeah, it's going to be a mainstream, big pop culture event. The relevancy of it is going to be fucking massive. But yet at the same time, when you're somebody like me and somebody like Mac, you are alienating your core audience and the hardcore fan base. Yeah, you're bringing in a lot of people that have never taken this stuff seriously in my lifetime, or anybody's lifetime for that matter. Like, you're going to be bringing people in that, because you're going to get the Kardashian audience. Because I think they're together, right? Or still, I forget.
No, they're not anymore, I don't think.
Okay. But they were at one time.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
for sure, but
I don't know, because a lot of them yo-yo back and forth. Let's just face it. Like, that was, at least that's when I was somewhat interested or somewhat had my pulse on the community.
I'll Google
I was
it.
married.
It'll be
Yeah. But it's just, he has a certain audience.
No, he was dating Kylie, who's now with that Timothy Chalamet actor.
Okay.
So
All
yeah,
right.
I didn't, because I don't follow that stuff either. I didn't know if it was Kylie or Kendall and God knows whatever the Kardashian. So that's why I wasn't sure. So yeah,
I didn't know
dated
if he.
Kylie, and I
Okay.
guess they broke up in 2019 or God knows whatever. I don't even know.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
just.
she's with somebody else now.
Okay, yeah, it's typical, but it's just
Boo red.
That was something he would say.
my little slide, typical, but it's just this. Look, at one time, like I think everybody every red-blooded American, male or female, had their interest at one point, like in that family. I don't care what anybody says. One probably actually cared what they were doing, and then others watched because with the shit with the show.
Dude, she's so hot, dude. Let's be real. That's why the male population watches that.
Of course we all did. Of course we all did at one point. It's just how can you not? It was just, and plus the pop culture relevancy and all that stuff at one point. How can you not? I mean, it was trash TV. You understood it was trash TV, but we all grew up with Maury Povich and Jerry Springer.
It's like Jersey Shore, man. Like,
It is.
Some of this stuff, it's just like you're watching it because, if you're a guy, you think the girls are hot, and if you're watching it as a female, it's like you're watching it for the crap TV that it is, basically. I don't know what else to say. And listen, if you're a guy, you watch it for the same reason, God bless. Like, I just, it's not my cup of tea. I know it's not yours either, for that matter, but,
Steph likes it.
I'm talking
She
to you
watches
specifically.
the vacations, like the newer stuff too. She'll even watch.
Top 10 laundry.
Look, you know
Yes,
what? At
I
one
get it.
time, I did like them. It was a lot better than like Teen Mom and fucking 16 and Pregnant. Jesus Christ. Those were just walking advertisements. Were just like, oh yeah, teen pregnancy is still a thing. Like, what the hell? At one point, because I was talking to an admin at one of the schools. Actually, it was the high school. What am I talking about? I was talking about it to an admin at the high school, and she had mentioned that that there was still a thing like teen pregnancy, and I was just like, I thought that was a thing in the 90s.
Yo, so
Like-
hold on. But it's funny you mentioned that, right? So I typically will go on like Google News or whatever, like just skim the headlines and stuff, like whatever, right? So I'm doing this one day. It was a couple weeks ago, I think. I don't remember exactly when, and they're bringing somebody back to the Teen Mom show on MTV that you're alluding to here. And I'm just like, dude, she's like almost my age. Like, she's not a teen mom anymore. Why are you bringing her back? Like, what's going on? And it's just, I don't subscribe to a lot of that like reality TV stuff, whether it be that, whether it be Jersey Shore, whether it be some of the other shows that are considered reality TV. I'm just, that one specifically, I'm like, why do I want to watch a show about teen moms that you're not helping or giving money to, or really because they're on your show? Like, let's be real, they're getting paid somehow. So what's the struggle here? Like, I don't get it. And it's just, okay, you had a kid at 17. Like, why are we glorifying that? Like, I just don't get it. It's weird to me.
Yeah, I don't understand. I really don't how it's still being kind of glorified and still being talked about.
Oh, Mac,
things
you're on a
like that.
podcast talking about wrestling. Yeah, but I ain't knock up a 17-year-old, so it's a lot different.
It's a lot different. It's a lot different to talk about. And come on, it was on a goddamn television show. Like, the relevancy of it, like, I don't understand how does this keep happening?
My baby daddy is such a D-bag. Well, maybe if you didn't have unprotected sex at like 17, this wouldn't be a problem right now.
Yeah, it's just, why is this being celebrated? Like, why are you putting a camera? Like, if I was a parent, it's just like, this is the last fucking thing I'm gonna want to be involved in. Yeah, I'm gonna want my whole goddamn it's like, if you're gonna do this, I don't want to be involved, like, at all. I don't want to be on camera whatsoever
because I'm not booked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to see the fact. I want to be involved in that situation of me not trying to want to knock the kid that knocked my daughter out. Like, yeah, that's one thing of just like me plotting to bury him in the backyard. Like, that's what I really want on camera. I'm just, yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, no. It ain't happening.
Speaking of things that they should have put on TV that they didn't, is Darby Allin really should have brought a camera crew with him or something.
Yes, congratulations. Well, actually, I think he did document it. I'm assuming he probably did. But
It would have been a hell of a show, though.
It would have been. Darby Allin successfully climbed Mount Everest, and if you don't fucking push him to the moon, you don't know what you're doing. If this is the plan, that they were banking on him being successful, and there was always a 50% chance that he wasn't going to make it. Let's face it. It is Everest. It is the one of the world's I guess, one of the world's lists of conquering kind of icons. It's one of the biggest ones, and he was able to do it. And now he should be your top baby face without question. And you should, if you saved it now, where you put all your eggs in one basket, that he's going to be the guy to win the title at All In in Texas. This is what you got to do. It has to be at All In Texas. You have to make sure that he walks out of that building with the championship. Because if you don't, it's all for naught. Everything. Because this guy should have been champion last year. He should have been the guy that took the title from Bryan Danielson at the end of his career. Because it was supposed to be the two guys that were from Tacoma going at it. And it was supposed to be the last match. Instead, we got Jon Moxley ending his career in a depressing fashion, instead of just a proper send-off maybe to a guy that gave his entire career to this great industry. Instead, they went the other route of he gets choked out and gets cut off every single time, and made it a really depressing show where when you do something like that, you're always risking you're always at risk of killing the town. And I'm wondering if that may be the cause of what happened. Because you took the hero, the guy that is supposed to be the reason why everybody's there. And yeah, there's a good chance that everybody knows that he's going to lose. But you do it in a fashion where people are not upset with it. And they're not depressed. Everything good?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just making sure.
Yeah, I don't know what I just hit. That it was yeah, you're gonna kill the recording. I'm I didn't.
No, please no.
I didn't touch anything, but okay.
So by the way, we haven't seen the championship since October too. We haven't seen it visibly. He's just had this championship, and we haven't seen it since.
So let's do this, right? Since we're already kind of talking about AEW,
yes,
we'll jump to Sunday and talk about Double or Nothing here. But guess what's not being defended in Double or Nothing?
The championship. It's not. I do give them credit though in the fact that it's only an 8-match card, because how many goddamn times if we see these shows and there's 13 matches on the show,
we don't know what the
15
matches are
matches
going to look like here either.
That's true. That's true. Except he might get smarter now, because he might be a little better as far as maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
I don't know, man. I think as we go through this card, which we'll do in a second here, I think some of these don't need to be really booked, or booked in the way that they have been. So I'm just gonna run down the card where we can talk about them, but I think we can just do an overall synopsis at the end.
Yes.
Here. But so according to Wikipedia, like you said, there are 8 matches. I'm just gonna go in the order that Wikipedia has it currently. So for the 2025 Women's Owen Hart Foundation Cup Tournament Final, we have Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Moné.
Of course.
Which just, I don't get it. Winner earns the AEW Women's Championship match down the road. Second match is a tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. The Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin with MVP
against the Sons of Texas, which I didn't know this was a thing until the other day, apparently. Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara.
Jesus Christ.
Totally just random to me.
How many other teams do you have that you had to put those two out there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
Which is funny because two matches from now we can talk about.
I know.
Time was Tony Storm with Luther against Mina Shirakawa, again for the AEW Women's World Championship. The next match, which is kind of why I'm saying what I just said, is a tag team match between FTR and Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, 2 matches from now, we'll talk about more tag teams, by the way.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know why this needs to be on the pay-per-view, this match. But you know, we'll talk about why I don't think it does in the match after this following one, which is a stretcher match for the next match. Mark Briscoe versus Ricochet.
Oh God.
Dude, I didn't even know they were feuding.
That better be the opener.
Yeah, I don't follow AEW all the time, but I don't understand this one.
I didn't. Yeah, this is like a.
I feel like some of these are like my grievances with what I've said about WWE the past several months, where it's like, are we throwing stuff together the last week and then it's on pay-per-view?
They both do it.
They do.
They both are guilty of it.
They do. I don't disagree, but it's weird. Speaking of weird, the next match is an Anarchy in the Arena match.
Oh God.
Yeah. So this is just all over the place. Kenny Omega, Swerve, Willow Nightingale, and the Ops, which is Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Shibata, versus the Death Riders, Moxley, Claudio, Marina Shafir, and Wheeler Yuta, and the Young Bucks. Can we just call this the clusterfuck in the arena match? Because I feel like that's what this is. This is a clusterfuck. Even trying to get through reading the participants of this match. Whoa.
Feels like a Love Boat episode. And the Young Bucks!
Dude, it's like we need to find every face
The
and
Love
every heel.
Boat.
Oh, God. Yeah, Skipper isn't here right now.
No, he isn't. He's drunk in the cabin.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know who the Young Bucks are? The Young Bucks are the center square in Hollywood Squares.
I can't even disagree with that.
And the center square, Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
I can't even disagree with that. Yeah, we'll go back to that because I'm sure there's more to talk about there. The second to last match is for the AEW Continental Championship. Okada versus Speedball Mike Bailey. And then the last match that is on the list here is for the finals for the men's version of the Owen Hart Foundation Cup Tournament. Winner will earn an AEW championship match at All In. Hangman Adam Page versus Will Ospreay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Will Ospreay should win that match. That's all I'm gonna say there.
So I guess they're going with Ospreay taking the title from Moxley and not Darby Allin.
I guess so.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's weird that they're doing that at All In.
Like,
It's weird.
I mean, Hangman could win. I mean, because he is one of the. It's interesting with Hangman because
Ospreay needs to go for the title at this point, though.
I do too, and that's kind of where I am. The Speedball Mike Bailey thing, I really don't get.
Oh, I don't get half of this
I-
card.
I just don't get Speedball Mike Bailey at all as a performer. It's just him, the crane kick, and it's just Okada's had a weird while. Like I'm looking at Okada, it's because it's like where's the Japan Okada, and it's like, well, he's probably a little too banged up, long of the tooth to be. Because I think you look at guys like Shibata and those guys, and they can't do the style that those guys were doing. The same thing with Omega. The same thing. It's just he's dealing with the same stuff, and you just can't work that style your whole career.
Right.
And so, but this card is just all over the place. Because there is some stuff that's really good, and then there's other stuff I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, that's where I'm at with this too. Like, I don't really understand the Sons of Texas thing. That's just weird to me. Dustin Rhodes, FKA Goldust, obviously, for those that remember, and then Sammy Guevara. It's like, dude, you talked about the Love Boat, the Anarchy, and the arena match. This is like Odd Couple. I don't understand this team at all. And I haven't really watched the last couple of weeks, as I said, but I know there's the whole thing with the Hurt Syndicate and MJF. So I don't know if that plays a role here. Jamie Hayter, Mercedes Moné on paper seems like a good match. Time with Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa, I think that'll be a great match. The tag team match, FTR and Daniel Garcia, Nigel McGuinness, I think that'll be a good match. Mark Briscoe and Ricochet, I think will be a good match. It's just weird. I don't even really want to watch the Anarchy in the arena match. It just seems like a clusterfuck to me. Like I said. Speedball Mike Bailey, I'm right there with you. And then Hangman and Ospreay will be fun, but I think that's another match where it's like, you kind of mentioned it. It's like, I don't think that Hangman's going to be able to hang with Ospreay and the style that he has. I'm sure it'll still be a good match. It's just,
I wouldn't say that. I mean, there's a lot of things I could say negatively about Hangman that haven't been already said because they've been said enough. But
Boo ran.
I will say this about Hangman Page. His character work the last year or two has been really, really good.
definitely been better. Yeah.
It's been a lot better. And also, he's probably one of the most solid in-ring performers that they've ever had in the company. He's been in some really great matches.
Yeah.
But the character sometimes is lacking, which I think hurts him overall. But, I think he's still one of the better performers in the company. And I just, it bothers me sometimes to say that because I do want to just be like, oh, he's such a prick. But at the same time, he's worked hard. He's been one of the most consistent performers the company's had. And I can't deny his success in the ring. I can't do that. It would be a disservice. And so I expect the match to be excellent. And it's going to be, it's going to be one of those matches where it's just like, yeah, I don't know how this is going to go, but I think it's going to be Ospreay. But then at the same time, if it's not Ospreay, then I wouldn't be surprised. Because Hangman and Moxley, they've been teasing for a while too. So it's rather weird right now.
I think it needs to be Ospreay, honestly. I think he needs to start
I agree.
challenging for that championship.
I agree with you 100%. And I think that's the direction they're going to go. But I don't know. Because for some reason they just keep putting like Hangman like in these positions where it's like, but I can't argue with it because again, I think Hangman is an interesting character. Mark Briscoe and Ricochet. This is a dynamite in a collision match. Same thing with FTR versus Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. You have other programs I feel like that you can get on the show. It's much like a WWE card these days where it's just like you can do other stuff on this program.
Yeah, a lot of this I feel like should be on Collision.
Like the Hurt Syndicate and the Sons of Texas. For one thing, aren't Rhodes and Guevara are from Ring of Honor. I think they're the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, which is like, okay, like, why is this still Ring of Honor thing when you don't have TV yet? And it's just...
I don't even say yet. I would say still. I don't think he even cares. I just don't. Which is unfortunate because he really could do like a brand split with Ring of Honor.
He has enough talent. He could do that. You're right. And two, the way that the business is going to be going, because I keep thinking, and especially too with the Forbidden Door looming in a few months, and the way that New Japan has been kind of struggling as of late, that I think that a New Japan acquisition by AEW would not surprise me. Kind of the way that AAA is getting acquired
I don't
by
think he's in
WWE.
I don't think he's in an acquiring business, to be 100% honest. I think what he did with Ring of Honor, he got it on the cheap, even though he probably did overspend. But at the same token, he's not WWE. I still think he's running at a deficit at this point. Still, so I mean, my honest opinion is this: is he really should just offload Ring of Honor, except for their distribution tapes and stuff, for the distribution network that they might still have with Battle Pass or Honor Pass, whatever the hell it's called now. And at that point, I would just run it that way. If he still wants to make a run at New Japan, I really don't want it. I really don't want it. What WWE would do with AAA, I didn't even really want that. I'm not gonna lie. I like some separation in the companies at times, because if you look at AAA, like you said, that WWE just acquired. If you look at TNA, which is still a separate entity, but is now heavily influenced by WWE and WWE talent, you can see it, right? And I think TNA, truthfully, is better for it, but give it like 5 years, and that's a WWE entity at that point too, probably. I don't... we had a monopoly for so long with WWE, and I'm not going to sit here and say the product suffered, but the product did suffer.
Yep.
Part of that is who they were pushing at the time. Just, I've explicitly stated that numerous times. And then for a while, we didn't really have, TNA Impact really wasn't that great. NWA, obviously, was not great. Then in 2019, along comes AEW, and things kind of changed a little bit for the better. And the product, whether it be AEW at the time, obviously, or WWE then, was better, like I said. But AEW is kind of, taking multiple missteps because of the way it was being run and booked. WWE was getting pushed and booked in a much different and better way. But now, we look at this card and we'll talk about a Saturday Night Main Event and probably a little bit of Battleground in the next couple of minutes. And it's like, you can see there's things that they need to look at holistically, whether it be AEW, excuse me, or whether it be WWE, that's like, yeah, what are we doing? Why are people losing interest? And actually understand why the reasons that they're losing interest is. But we'll see, because I don't know after this that they're going to realize that at least Tony's not.
There's a lot of people that look at this card and will think that this is one of their weaker shows. And this is technically their inaugural pay-per-view. This is kind of the one that started it all for them. This, of course, was the weekend of Memorial Day weekend of 2019. Even though it really doesn't feel like Memorial Day if you're living in the New England area. Jesus Christ, it's 43 degrees out this morning. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this, March?
Still wearing sweatshirts.
Stupid March weather? Like, what is this? Like, it doesn't feel like May whatsoever. We're not looking at Memorial Day weekend. I feel like we're smack dab and smack dab in like March 27th weather and not May weather. So, I mean, it's nice because I haven't had to put my air conditioner in the window yet. That's been nice. Saves me some money on the electric bill because, good Lord, that electric bill. Ho ho! How high can that get? Ho ho! Ah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think it'll be a decent show, Double or Nothing, but I just feel like some of the booking decisions for some of these, it's just like, what are you doing? Just, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's just this, it's also predictable booking because you can look at this card and just be like, yeah, because Jamie Hayter is going to beat fucking Mercedes Moné. Yeah, really. So, I mean, they're doing, and it's obvious they're going to do Mercedes versus Tony Storm. So,
I mean, at All In, I think that's the match you book. I 100% agree with that booking. It's just kind of like,
yeah, but it's not so. I agree with the booking, but at the same time, it's like you don't need to do it. I understand you want to, but you don't need to do it.
I think you do need to do it. I just you've teased this for so long, and there's gonna be a payoff because it's a championship match too. So I don't hate that. My gripe is that maybe Mercedes should put one of her belts up as well.
It should be all or nothing. I agree.
I don't want to say all or nothing, but I guess part of me is basically saying I don't want Tony Storm to drop the belt to Mercedes.
All in.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you for that dad joke, Dad. I just don't want Tony to drop the belt to Mercedes. That's basically what I'm saying. And Will Ospreay versus Jon Moxley, I'm not going to hate it. It's just, unless Moxley's dropping the belt, I don't care. If you put Will Ospreay in that match and Jon Moxley does not drop the belt, I don't know what the hell you're doing, man. Briscoe and Ricochet does not need to be on the card. The Anarchy in the Arena match, I get it, but do you really need that many people in this match? Just throwing that out there. Okada, you could definitely book better than Speedball Mike Bailey. It's just, I don't know. I feel like it's it's going to be a good show. I feel like it's just weird booking decisions to me. Mercedes Moné is probably going to win. I don't understand why you need to bury Jamie Hayter again after she just came back like the third time. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's shitty. It's just some of these matches on this card. It's just like, And I want to try to give AEW the benefit of the doubt because some of the things that they've been doing lately have not been like there have been things that they've done lately. I've been like, all right, that's good. That's pretty good. They're trying. I think moving to the smaller buildings has been a good idea, even though the latest reports. $100 for a piece for seat fillers.
Oh, that's right. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah, which I don't know again if that's accurate or not, because there's been so much fake stuff put out about AEW and some of their business practices. I remember that that very early on, that sheet that came out, and it was like this expense sheet where they said that like they were paying Brian Alvarez and they're paying Alvarez and Meltzer like $250,000 a year. It's like this ridiculous like fact sheet that went out, and it's just like, well, I don't know if this is believable or not.
Well, listen, we don't know that. We don't know if the $100 be a seat filler is accurate either. But what we do know is this: you and I have a friend in Vegas, or had a friend in Vegas, I guess might be more accurate. And good guy, but he went to a restaurant. I forget what it was, and it was basically, if you get a combo meal, you get an AEW ticket. And he sent us the picture. So we do know that they do try to do things to entice people to come to a show. And I know by saying that, there's going to be people like, oh, what's wrong with that? That's great. That's great. It's like, yeah, but if you're giving everybody an AEW ticket, is that really great? Might be great if you want to go. Otherwise, it's not a great business practice. Just throw that out there. But my point is this, like, we do know that some of these things happen, right? Where they're going to book people to show up because they're going to pay them money, or they're going to get them with a free ticket from a combo meal from whatever restaurant, right? Like, it's going to happen. They want it to look presentable for television because that's what companies want. They want it to look like people are attending their shows and everything. Yes, people are still watching the show and they're still going to make money off the advertising from the networks. But, at some point, you got to have an empty building because people are losing interest. And that's not going to look good on TV either.
Not going to look good for anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and AEW has to worry about Warner Brothers Discovery's business model as well, concerning the fact of that. I think that their credit rating just got dropped down to junk bond status. That was just announced earlier this week in business news, which does not lend too well to a company that is paying you your media rights, because you have to start worrying about their solvency. They're massively in debt as a company. They are losing now the NBA in weeks, for that matter. After the conference finals, that's pretty much it. And now that they're going to be headed over to Peacock, and Peacock too, they're spending money because there's rumors now that they're going to be taking on the Major League Baseball Sunday Night Baseball package from ESPN. So they are kind of now moving more into a sports and live programming model, where Max was kind of late in the game of doing that, especially with AEW, and the fact too that AEW is not broadcasting their pay-per-views on Max yet. That is now something that they still do and charge people for. You can do that on Amazon Prime. And you would think, though, that they would be able to do that on HBO Max. However, they have not done that yet. And I don't know if that was a stumbling block in the negotiations. I think that it was because no one wants to pay $50 a month for pay-per-views anymore. It's just it's a pass A business model. And I understand his philosophy and things like that, but I look at this pay-per-view and I think to myself, this is not a $50 show. This is something you could get a Peacock, I feel like. And that's going to be something eventually that's going to hurt him, because I think that people are already starting to make that decision too with this company, because Peacock is $20 a month for their top tier package, and you can also get just a hell of a lot more for that money than just a $50 a month for a pay-per-view that, it's a show that you do own forever, technically digitally, and it's like 5 or 6 hours, but it's not exactly, you don't have the back catalog that you do for Peacock, and you're saving like pretty much 60% for what you're going to pay for AEW.
So hold on, like you bring up a good point, right? And I want to make the comparison real quick. You already made it with Peacock, and as we know, WWE has the PLEs on Peacock. Most of the stuff that's on the networks on Peacock. They used to have Raws. I don't know what that looks like at this point with the Netflix deal, which we'll talk about in a second. But all the SmackDowns are there like a month later, and all the previous ones are there, and all the previous pay-per-views, PLEs are there, and you don't have to pay anything. You pay $5 for a version with ads, or $7 now, whatever the price is for Peacock, and you're good to go. Plus, there's a lot of other programming that you mentioned on Peacock as well. If we look at the Netflix deal real quick, they still play ads. They still play the ads. You also have live events, and they'll put ads in the live events points too. Like a lot. Like, how did we watch, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson? It was on Peacock.
Right.
It crashed Peacock, but it was on Peacock.
Right.
I don't think AEW needs to worry about it crashing Netflix or Peacock, whatever, any of these platforms. I don't think so. But to your point, like, I'd gladly pay $7, $8, $9, $10 a month to some of these platforms for not only the programming that they have to watch a monthly AEW show. I would do that. I don't want to pay Amazon Prime 15, 20, whatever the amount of it is at this point, and then an additional 50 for the pay-per-view itself. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. There's a way to have both. And WWE has obviously found that, and AEW needs to figure that deal out too. And if that means that Max, essentially at this point, or HBO Max, or whatever the hell it's going to be called in 6 months to a year, they need to figure that piece out with them. They really do. Because, like you said, I don't, as a wrestling fan, if I could find something.
Oh, this just in, they have renamed now to actually Skinamax.
How about Shit Show Max? Just it's crazy, man. It's just crazy. It's unfortunate too, because what I think in tandem is this, right? Like, people like you and I are not going to pay $50 a month to watch a B pay-per-view. Let's be real, which is what that's going to be. But also, there's a lot of fans that are going to feel that way and then not going to want to watch their product because they can't view it readily like you can with WWE. But on top of that, too, dude, and we've talked about this before, typically you can find their pay-per-views on YouTube like a couple days later. Probably you have to watch it in pieces, but at some point, do you really care about that? And it's the same with WWE, right? Like, a lot of their matches, somebody's going to go in, clip it, and post it, and you just watch it. And watch the PLE sometimes. And I notice what a lot of people do too. They just watch clips of it because they don't need to watch the whole thing at times. So I think it's a perfect spot to kind of segue into Saturday main event anyways. We can probably talk a little bit of Battleground, at least go over that too. But, speaking of Peacock, you can watch this on NBC, and you can also watch it on Peacock on Saturday.
Yeah. It's a simulcast again with how HBO Max is doing it, but HBO Max again was late to the party of doing this because NBC and WWE have been doing it at least a few months before The
WWE
HBO Max
did it on the
started doing
network
that.
too.
That's sure they did. So it has happened before where, but they were ahead in the game of doing that.
100%.
Where I look at what AEW is doing now with HBO Max, which again, you're right, it is another 2 weeks from now. It is going to probably be something else. They'll probably be like HBO Cinema or like something like that. Like we're just or cinema HBO or
Like
something. We're just
HBO XXXXL or something like that. Can't say Max anymore. You just got to go 4XL.
Exactly. But it really, or actually, no, it'd be HBO Triple XL. Like you'd have to come that way. Because it's like we're still HBO. We gotta make it sound hardcore, man. It's like, do we really need to go this level?
Boo ran.
But yes, it is the Saturday night's main event again. Now taking place from Tampa, Florida, the Yingling Center, which I guess will not be hosting NXT on Tuesday either because of low ticket sales, because they were going to do a small residency at the Yingling Center. I think they have SmackDown there tomorrow, Saturday night's main event on Saturday, and then Raw on Monday, if I'm not mistaken. Small little residency in Tampa. And then, which for John Cena is pretty good because I think it's like, even though half the roster, this is probably like literally right down the street from where they live. So
probably.
to them, it's just like, oh, this is easy.
Yeah, I mean, some of them I know live in Florida. Some of them live in North Carolina, so it makes sense. You know, some of them will do a couple-hour drive to get there and be good to go.
Cena lives in Tampa. I believe Drew McIntyre lives in the area as well.
I think he's in North Carolina.
Might be.
I think he is, but I'm not sure. I think R-Truth is in Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Jey Uso, I think, is in Florida.
I believe so. I know Braun Breaker's probably still in Florida too, honestly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I don't know about Sami Zayn. I think Rollins is still the Midwest where he's actually from, like Davenport, Iowa. I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he is now. I feel like he's in Nashville, but I'm thinking of somebody else, I think.
And then Logan Paul is in LA, I think.
I don't know where. I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care.
No. So I guess we could start from the top where we are on Wikipedia, where it talks about Jey Uso, the World Heavyweight Champion, defending the title against Logan Paul.
Yep.
And
a match nobody really wanted.
No. And then the tag team match of Sami Zayn and CM Punk versus Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. John Cena faces it's an idol versus idol versus fan, I guess. It's R-Truth versus John Cena, not for the championship, which is surprising.
That is weird. Yeah.
Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre also in a steel cage match. So a little bit of variety, except the fact that there are no women featured on the show, which is a little bit of surprise, considering the fact that women have been so prevalent on most of the shows as of late. But the fact now that it's Jey Uso and Logan Paul in a matchup nobody really wanted, and CM Punk and Sami Zayn versus Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker, which
this is stupid. I'm not gonna lie. Like, listen. I feel like almost the entire card is like, what are you doing? Except for Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. That's the only match I could look at and be like, okay, I like what you're doing here.
Yes, because it's a natural progression in their feud. We already had a street fight. Now it's cage match. I guess McIntyre was okay from that spill a few weeks ago. now for this match to even take place. So that's a plus. But then you have Jey Uso, Logan Paul. That's the one where I'm just looking at it. I'm just like, why? Like of all matches on the card, I'm just like, why? Because I mean,
I feel like Logan Paul. I'm gonna have to say it this way, and I'll explain my theory in a second here. But like, I feel like he's the gatekeeper of any world title. It's like you won the world title. Now in a couple months, you're gonna face Logan Paul. Like that's
Yes.
how I feel at this point. You did it with Cody. You did it with Roman. You did it with Seth Rollins. You didn't do it with Drew. He only had the belt for a little bit. I can't remember if he had something with Damian Priest or not. I don't think he did. And he didn't have anything with Gunther. But I feel like anyone that's gonna, be a legit world champion, you gotta have a match against Logan Paul. It's just weird. I don't know, man. But then the CM Punk and Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker, like, I get it, but why? Like, your whole thing is like based on protecting Jey Uso, kind of. And Jey Uso's in another match, so why do we have to have this match? Because Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker couldn't find a third guy? Like, is that why? Because they probably could have formed like a triple threat a three-man tag match with Jey Uso, CM Punk, Sami Zayn versus Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and probably Gunther. And that would have been sick. I would have liked that match. I don't like either of these matches at this point. And then John Cena and R-Truth, it's like, for what? like okay, it's R-Truth's childhood hero. I get that. But why does this need to be a match on not a PLE, I guess, but like a still a top show, let's be real. And why is it not for the title? So those and again, like we don't know the order of the matches, we're just reading it off Wikipedia, but like if that's the order of the matches, I don't want to watch the whole show just to get the steel cage match.
no.
I'm just gonna say it that way. I don't. Like, I just don't. That's the match of the night. And to your other point though, I actually scrolled up because this page, I don't know if it's the same one, but they have the previous Saturday Night main events prior to this. And you're right. There's no female match on Saturday Night main event this week. The last one had Rhea versus Nia.
Mhm.
And then before that, we had Chelsea Green and Mi Chen, which was to crown the WWE Women's United States Championship. And we also had Liv Morgan defeating Io Sky for the Women's World Championship. And then before that, we're going back like to 2008, so we're not even going to count that. But it's like, why is there no female match here?
I don't know.
Why did you do, Julia and Roxanne Perez versus Rhea and Io on TV and not save it for this? Then we could have been spared some of these bad men's matches that we're gonna have. I just and same thing. Why did we do last week on SmackDown? Why did we do Nia versus Tiffany? Why didn't we save that for Saturday Night main event? Especially with how good the match actually was. It doesn't make any sense. And we've been saying this the last couple of weeks. Women's wrestling right now is better than the men's in some cases.
It is, and it is a it's just frustrating because they're if you're a woman's talent, I'd be a little frustrated because it's just like, really, like NBC, Saturday nights, these have done pretty well, these shows, and no women featured, but you're gonna have Jey Uso and Logan Paul, a matchup that really nobody gives a shit about on the card, because I understand they built up the world title now because of all the people involved with everything, but why do they need to have Logan Paul challenging for the title when it seems to me that there's a lot of other people that are the focus right now in the world title other than Logan Paul? It's like, okay, we can't just have, a 4-way or a 3-way or something like that with other people involved with, a Seth Rollins or
because I'm not booked.
Instead, no, it's Logan Paul against Jey Uso, a matchup again that really I could care less about. Meanwhile, you have a women's roster that have just been absolutely killing on most of these shows, but it's not Logan Paul. So it's like we got to have this, same thing Karrion Kross has been kind of arguing, like all these hard time performers that are working full time on the shows every single week, busting their ass, and then you got Logan Paul taking the spot. It is annoying. It's very annoying.
I mean, listen, at this point, I'm not going to say I'm sold on Logan Paul per se, but I'm more sold than I would have been like a year ago. Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to sit here and say that he deserves a title shot. I'm not going to sit here and say that, when you compare him to some of the talent that is not getting shots, like you can make the argument for Sami Zayn, and I know it's been thrown around the last couple of months, especially after Jey Uso won. But I mean, he's still in a top program. You can make the same argument for CM Punk, for Seth Rollins, for Braun Breaker. They're in top programs. Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, same thing. But I know there's other guys, everybody's going to say Gunther, especially after the last week. I know people are going to say Chad Gable to a certain extent. I know there's a plethora of other talent, because I'm just thinking Raw right now, because that's where we're talking about with the World Heavyweight Championship. It's just, there's so many talents there that might deserve a shot more than Logan Paul. And that's kind of why I said he's kind of a gatekeeper of any world title, honestly. It's just like, all right, here's your title. Now you got to face Logan Paul. It's like, listen, if we get out of the way now, fine. I just don't like the fact that it's here. But at the same token, I would rather it here versus like at Money in the Bank. Right? Because again, I know this is a top show, and I know a lot of people consider it a PLE, but it's really not. Part of that is the perception that it's also on Peacock, and I understand that. But it's not a PLE. And for me, I can kind of get past it because of that. I still don't like it, though. I still don't like it.
No, it's just, to me, it's just it's an unappealing show. I mean, I'll probably still watch it, but to me, it's just an unappealing show.
What I think would be perfect for this show, it's going to sound a little bit weird saying it. I unfortunately I didn't pull a graphic for this, but what I think would have been perfect would to do this at like 6 to 8, and then air Battleground right after it.
Yeah, let's talk about Battleground actually, because I was just looking at the card for this.
Yeah, the card is good. It's I feel like
it's
NXT,
interesting.
I feel like NXT has been better than the main event shows the last couple of weeks, the last couple of months, honestly, people watched. But yeah, we can talk about it. I got it up right now, so I'll just go through the card real fast. Just same order as Wikipedia. So the first match advertised on Wikipedia is the NXT Championship, Obafemi versus Miles Bourne.
Yes.
Interesting choice, I feel like. The next match is the NXT Women's Championship, Stephanie Becerra versus Jordan Grace. Yeah, that's gonna be a banger, I think.
Yeah.
Next match is the TNA World Championship match, Joe Hendry versus Trick Williams. Kind of weird, kind of cool, kind of weird. The next match is a grudge match, Tony D'Angelo versus Stax, Channing Lorenzo. We also have the NXT Women's North American Championship, Sol Ruca versus Kalani Jordan. And then the last match is a 6-man tag match. Hank and Tank, Hank Walker and Tank Ledger. And
fuck.
yeah, I don't know. With Josh Bridges versus The Culling, which is Brooke Jensen, Nico Vance, Sean Spears, and they are managed by Izzy Dame.
Okay.
So listen, just going in reverse order here. I didn't know that was the name, The Culling. That is a stupid fucking name.
The Cullen.
The Culling.
We are the Cullen. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. I mean, dude, if they went like Coven, it would still be weird, but it would be less weird than the Cullen.
The Coven.
The Coven, yeah. Kalani Jordan, Sol Ruca, that's going to be a banger. Tony D'Angelo versus Stax, I don't care.
Yeah.
They've tried to make it interesting lately with Stax showing up at Tony D'Angelo's house, and it's not selling me. I don't care. Joe Hendry versus Trick Williams is very interesting because it's the TNA World Championship.
Yes, you also believe in Joe Hendry, so that's part of the problem.
No, listen. I hated the WrestleMania moment. It was good for him. Don't get me wrong, but it was fucking embarrassing. I feel like. I don't hate this. I think it'd be a good match, but it's like if Joe Hendry does not show up, he's gonna get exposed, which I feel like a lot of people are expecting, and I feel like they still have to make Trick look like $1 million because let's be real, you're not gonna drop the TNA World Championship to a WWE talent on a WWE show. You're just not gonna do that.
It's just this is
yeah.
I mean, if this is one of those risky things you're doing because you're going up against your homegrown guy against the current TNA champion, and yes, there are the rumors that Joe Hendry is going to be in WWE's system when his contract is over with TNA.
Yep.
They do have this current working relationship, but at the same time, it's like they have this working relationship, but TNA knows you're going to tape all our top people, which they already have with Jordan Grace, and now they are fully going to do with Joe Hendry. So it is one of those situations where it is kind of like, oh shit, like what's going to happen? And do you want to risk Trick Williams to preserve Joe Hendry? Which I'm sure if you're TNA, that's what you want to happen. But WWE has always been a company that's looked after numero uno. So I don't know.
I feel like that has to end in some like run-in with some new.
Yes, it would make
talent.
sense. Yes.
I don't know how else you can book this otherwise.
I don't know. I don't know how you can kind of get out of this and make everybody look good and not make Trick look weak, because Trick Williams, in my opinion, is going to be somebody that in the next 5 years is going to be in a main event position on either Raw or SmackDown. So it's kind of hard to not make him look like $1 million going up against Joe Hendry for the TNA championship. It's like, are you going to sacrifice Trick, who you've been cultivating now for all these years, for somebody that may lose his luster if this match does not go the way people want it to go?
Well, I mean, listen, if he's going to WWE, that means WWE is obviously big on him.
Yes.
But we're also talking like next year.
Yes.
This match itself just represents so many risks, in my opinion. There's so many things that can go wrong here. If you book Joe Hendry versus Trick Williams on a normal day, you can make them both look strong. It doesn't matter who wins. but you're booking it for the TNA World Championship, which, again, like, Joe has to show up, Trick has to show up, but I feel like the only way you can get out of this is a fucked finish.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to slice it, but I think Stephanie Becerra versus Jordan Grace it's going to be an absolute banger. The NXT Women's Championship, I feel like Stephanie Becerra and even Julia before her have been booked and performed just so well that it's been better than the men. It's been more engaging than the men. It has. It honestly has. And I think Julia's call up and Roxanne Perez's call up also speaks to that. I don't even know who's going to walk out of this champion. I just don't. I just straight up don't. And honestly, I don't know that I care. Jordan Grace is a phenomenal talent. Stephanie Becerra, also a phenomenal talent. They're both going to be on the main roster probably sooner rather than later. So it's just wild to me how great this match is probably going to be.
Yes, I feel like this is probably going to be the match of the night. It's probably also in discussion for probably being the match of the weekend. But I think of all three now, at least for WWE anyways, because I think Ospreay and Hangman for Double or Nothing is really going to be a match that people are going to be talking about after this weekend as the best match of the weekend, which on paper, I think it's very easy to say that match is probably going to be the best match of the weekend. But I don't know. I think that you have two people in Stephanie Becerra and also with Jordan Grace that are going to push themselves to have the best match on the card. Or the weekend for that matter. For both shows, at least, they know they're going to be an uphill battle with Ospreay and Hangman. Right. But I think in the WWE side of things, they could look at Saturday Night's Main Event and say, "Yeah, this is our chance to really steal the weekend from both shows for that matter." Because I forget it's multi-brands, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and the last match that we, going in reverse order, really talk about here is just Obafemi versus Miles Bourne for the NXT Championship, which I feel like
feels like an afterthought.
It really does compared to Stephanie Becerra and Jordan Grace. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, that and then too, I feel like that Hendry and Trick Williams has gotten a lot more play too. So,
well, I mean, listen. It was very telling to me a couple of weeks ago. I don't watch NXT every week. I try to catch it every so often, though. I'll read up on it as well. But it was very telling. I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, where Ava was out there talking to somebody, and then, they were like, "Oh, well, we'll give you a championship match right now." And it was to open the show, and it's Obafemi versus that person.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the women are closing out the show almost weekly at this point.
Yep.
It's just, there's a reason why certain segments open the show and why certain segments close the show. And typically the stronger segments will close out the show. Unless it's like you're doing an opening for shock value. Putting Obafemi, your champion, in an opening match really is not selling me any shock value. Especially when the women are the ones closing the show, like I said. And Miles Bourne, I feel like, what did he do? He won a battle royal, and that's why we're having this match? Like, cool. Cool. Like, it's not the Royal Rumble, guys. Like, chill out.
What is the NXT Rumble? I forget what they called it.
I forget. Yeah, they had some thing that they called it, but that's
not exactly what it was. A Rumble, Mac.
That's not what it was. Sorry,
dickhead.
Nope, that's not what it was.
And that's not me saying that.
I know.
That's the internet.
I got you. Don't worry.
The internet is yelling at you. They're just like, "Fuck you! You don't know what you're talking about."
I guess I don't. Sorry.
No, I'm
Sorry.
that's the internet. That's not me.
I know. Jeez, I'm not taking it that seriously. Yeah, and unfortunately, they had to move this back to the Performance Center too, because as you mentioned, low ticket sales.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do? Especially when you take up a different, when you take up a residency with 3 shows in a row, and they're seeing the top show, like they're seeing the main show on Sunday, and yeah, they're going to be seeing the show after. You're doing 3 nights 4 nights in a row already.
Yeah.
You're pushing it on 5.
It's a tough position, 100%.
Yeah,
because let's be real. We talked about it with AEW. We talked about it with Saturday Night Main Event. This isn't the best card.
no,
Like,
it isn't.
it's a good card. It's serviceable. I think out of the 3, it's the better card. That's not saying much, though. I feel like the Hank and Tank and Josh Bridges versus the Culling. I don't care. Silver could Kalani Jordan. Yes, that'll be good. Tony and Stacks. I get it. I get what you're trying to do with that. I personally don't care because the rest of the card is solid. Because you got Soul and Kalani. Joe and Trick will be good. Stephanie and Jordan will be great. And then Oba and Miles, I don't really care, but at least you're booking your champion for a title match, which is more than I can say for the other 2.
Yes.
I just, none of them are super strong. And like you said, you still have SmackDown, you still have Saturday Night Main Event, you have this, and I think you mentioned they have Raw there too. I feel like Battleground, unfortunately, was in the uncomfortable position of not being a show that's going to have the top talent that you have in the main event shows, like the Raw, like the SmackDown. So it's unfortunate, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the problem is that you're really putting yourself in a position of fatigue.
Yeah.
Because you're now booked. You have 4 nights in a row of shows. And, we always used to say, I remember in college even, oh man, wouldn't it be great if wrestling was on TV every night? It's like, we kind of have that now. And I'm just like, ugh. Like, it's a hard position to be in because it's like you have to devote so much time to this product, and it's like 3 hours on Monday, 2 hours on Tuesday, 3 hours on Friday, which I guess is going to be. It was supposed to go to 2 hours. Now they're thinking it's going to stay at 3 hours for the foreseeable future, and then you can either have a PLE on once a month on Saturday or Sunday. Sometimes 2 nights in a row, and then Sunday or Saturday, depending on the day, sometimes too. You have an NXT show, PLE. So it's difficult, and then you have, if you're into that sort of thing, AEW on Wednesday, then you have Impact on Thursday, and then you have on Saturday night Collision, and then. It's amazing. It's like, how many days a week now is just pro wrestling on where it's just like there's some form of it.
Well, that's why I mentioned earlier about just sometimes just watching clips on YouTube and stuff. Like, dude, like it's a lot. I feel like with Raw being about 2.5 hours, they've hit a sweet spot. So if they could move SmackDown to that, I think that would be in their benefit. But it's tough because, like you said, then you have the NXT shows, then you have the TNA shows, then you have the AEW shows. So if you want to watch everything, That's a lot of content for 1 week, and that's not even including PLEs and pay-per-views.
Mm.
And so what do we have? Like 6 days of wrestling, basically, out of the week. If you think about it, if you do the math,
Yeah,
and
pretty
everything,
much. Yeah.
it's about 6 days. And then, dude, like, if you do it that way, then you're listening to wrestling podcasts too. And listen, like, obviously keep doing that because we're one of them. But that's a lot of content in a week.
Like and sub, please.
Like and sub. Yep, it's a lot of content, and for a lot of people, that's hard to keep up on. I know there's people out there that are like, oh, well, we watch baseball every day, and we watch, all these other things every day, and it's like I understand that, and great for you if you're able to keep up with it. I personally can't. There's a lot of other people that can't, and they'll watch it when they can watch it. It doesn't make you a bad fan. It just, hey, maybe you got more free time, maybe you got more attention that you could devolve to this, and that's great. But I don't think there's any right or wrong way to watch what you want to watch, is what I'll say. So if you want to watch AEW this weekend, great, do it. If you want to watch Battleground, great, do it. If you want to watch Saturday Night Main Event, great, do it. If you want to watch everything, great, do it. I think it's a great weekend for wrestling as well, saying all of that. I just, there's other stuff going on this weekend too. It's a busy weekend. It's a long weekend for a lot of people. I think it's a great weekend for wrestling, like I said, but, it could also be kind of a mid-weekend for wrestling with some of these matches.
Could go either way at this point.
It could. It absolutely could.
It could go either way. It's a hard position to be in. Because you want to be positive. You want to stay excited. I feel like WWE we've been kind of negative soft on lately because of the way that things transpired at WrestleMania 41, even though there were issues even before WrestleMania 41. That things were just kind of just like, I don't know where this is going. So we're kind of feel like we're kind of in limbo a little bit. But who knows? Who really knows how this weekend is going to kind of play out? I think NXT is kind of the more intriguing show as far as wrestling as far as WWE is concerned right now. And I think AEW kind of has a chance to steal the weekend as far as the headlines are concerned, depending on what happens and how great the show is, and maybe they throw a surprise in there or two. Maybe Darby Allin does make a return this weekend. Who knows? There are a number of things that could happen at the end of this weekend that helps them try to get back on track. And WWE kind of maybe can maintain the course and see if they can keep everything kind of going and kind of keep everything all in one piece and continue to be the machine that they are heading into the summer season, which of course will again lead to MetLife Stadium in August for SummerSlam night 1 and 2. Is Cody Rhodes going to come back on Saturday night? That keeps being a rumor thrown out there.
That's what I was going to say.
Which I think Cody coming back, I think would be a huge boost. So,
Well, it would, because you have, 2 weeks to Money in the Bank? I mean,
yes, it's a very short window.
That. You could boost.
Does Travis Scott come on as well? That's the question.
I mean, if he does, I think that would make even the more sense for him to do that.
Yes.
And then have Cody come out, and get involved, and then they could set it up for Money in the Bank. You could obviously set it up for SummerSlam too.
No, will be Cody Rhodes' partner. Who knows?
Literally anyone.
Yes.
Probably Bad Bunny. I keep hearing that. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but that would be pretty cool too.
That would be interesting. Two top tier recording artists battling it out.
Yep.
In the WWE. Who knows? It's probably going to lead to the rematch for Cody and Cena at SummerSlam.
That's my
at MetLife.
Yeah.
which I fully expect for Cody to get his win and championship back, and John Cena will never be in the title picture again. And unless they decide we're going to do a rubber match, I'll be like, no, no,
No.
no.
He should go against somebody. I just don't think he should hold the title that long.
No.
Somebody could be, I know people are going to shit on me for this comment, probably you the most, but I wouldn't hate CM Punk and John Cena again. I just feel like at this point he should.
Whoa.
Could do that too. I just feel I don't think he needs it though, is the thing. I think it should be somebody younger. Whether that be Braun Breaker, maybe, whether it be somebody else, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
No, whoa. Still can't believe that Rock's plan was, well, I'm going to turn him heel. What are you, stupid?
I'm going to turn him heel and walk away. That's
I'm dumb.
the gripe.
We want to turn Cody heel.
Well, but then he eventually turned Cena and then he just walked away.
Yes, because he
did want to turn Cena.
He's dumb.
I think Cody as a heel needs to happen, but I don't think it needs to happen yet.
No. At some point, yes. Just not yet. When they really start to turn on him, when it's like 95% turn, then it's like, now you gotta go heel. Like, it's not, because I think the positive reaction that Cena getting is still this nostalgia act.
Oh, 100%.
People are just like, oh, yeah, I love him. Man. He was my hero 10 years ago. Okay, fine.
But that's the problem, Dan. You're right. It is a nostalgia act. And that's like, going back to Backlash for a second, that's why I didn't hate him against Randy Orton. Not on paper. I didn't think the match was that great. I thought it was better than a lot of people expected it to be.
It's better than the Mania match with Cody, yes.
Yeah, that's not saying much.
No.
I feel like a lot of things were better than that match.
Except the finish, because the finish was the exact same fucking finish.
I don't know.
Minus Travis Scott.
But overall, it was still a better match than he had with Cody, for sure.
Yes.
I do want Cody to go heel. I just don't want it right now. And I just want Cena to drop the belt. I don't even really care to who at this point.
Yes.
I just don't. But like I said, I think it'll be an interesting weekend for wrestling. I think some of these matches on paper are great. Some of them not so great. So we'll kind of have to see how that translates for some of these shows. If they'll be good shows or bad shows or just a little bit in between. We'll have to find out.
Yeah. Who knows? I think it'll be an interesting weekend of wrestling. Maybe some of you out there are not going to be watching wrestling. You have other plans. Have a safe Memorial Day weekend here in the States. If you're elsewhere around the world, enjoy the weekend, but also maybe take in some wrestling because it should be a decent weekend for it. Even though maybe some of the matches are kind of like, and it should be fun regardless. Plus, there's, I think, a 3 really good shows to kind of enjoy and get some fun out of it. So I hope everybody is able to do that. So thanks for listening to Pro Wrestling World Talks here on Diamond Podcasting Productions, on YouTube, and of course, PWB Talks on Spotify, Audacity, Apple, wherever you find your favorite podcast. Mac, do you have anything else you want to talk about tonight before we head off?
Nope, I think we've already talked it to death at this point, even though we really didn't go too in depth. I think it'll be good shows. I think, some of the matches will probably end up surprising us, but like you said, it's a lot of wrestling, so I hope everybody enjoys it, and I hope everybody stays safe in the States.
I agree. Everybody have a great weekend. We will see you back next week to talk about and review some of the shows. Hopefully AEW actually has a good finish to a pay-per-view for once where people are happy.
Oh, shit.
So, good night, everybody. Have a great weekend.